Hello, storytelling Ron. I'm doing why is my game better than Shadowdark? And I'm just using that because I'm getting that on my feed a lot. There's this Shadowdark controversy going on, or sort of. But why is my game better than Shadowdark? Obviously I'm biased in my game. If you're familiar with me here, I'm very critical of all role-playing games. They're all pagan. You have no Christianity. You have to remove your faith in order to be part of the games, part of the reindeer games. You have to remove Jesus Christ. Now pick a god that your character is going to worship. Paganism is a real-world religion. Fantasy comes from medieval Europe. It comes from the struggle of Christians and versus pagans throughout the ages of Western culture. That is what we're up against, and we Christians have stepped back and surrendered the RPG culture. And I'm telling you that you don't have to do that. And I have a game that you can actually play as a Christian in the game, and I took influence by all the other OSRs and all the other RPGs out there. I'm a 45-year veteran game master, and I'm done with the pagan stuff, and I'm having a blast. I'm having a great time. So I'm going to go through some main reasons why my game is better than Shadowdark. Let me just list them off real quick. You got evangelism in the game. You can evangelize. You have everything else though. I don't do like fantasy monsters, but I do monsters that are more harrowing and dangerous. A cave bear is more dangerous to me than any fantasy creature. It's more and the game rules are such that you don't have 80, 90 hit points. You're if you're a warrior, you're gonna have 16, 20. You're gonna struggle with 30. To get 30 hit points to survive. But there's still the brutality of grievous wounds. You can still get grievous wounds that are separate from hit points. And if you get too many grievous wounds, you're dead. That's just a big gash in you. You may be full of 30 hit points, but if you got a huge gash in you, you're dead. By the way, I do medieval armored combat, as you can see. I have real steel. So everything I do in the game, the mechanics and the numbers. How did I experience that? How does that play out for me when I go into tournaments and pro fights and stuff like that? So my game is you have evangelism, you have church planting. So you don't just go in the village and save them from the dragon, right? There's dragons, dragons. And they're dangerous and they're deadly. You don't even need a fire blast to be deadly as a dragon. You just charge and I should get my mic closer. But you in this game you can evangelize. When you go and save the village, you don't just save them from the dragon. You talk to them and save their souls, because you also realize that they're part of the problem. The pagans and the non-believers in this Dark Ages land is part of the problem. They worship the dragon, and that's the thing that RPGs and pagans are hiding. Is that in paganism, what Christianity is confronting is the default paganism of us all. We want to sacrifice. We're selfish. We want to create our own gods. We want to sin. We want to worship the dragon. We want to offer them our children, or slavery, or do slavery, or whatever. You know what I mean? And all of this is stuff that you got to truly deal with. What the regular RPGs have done is they've sort of homogenized and made happy dappy all these sort of the villages and the people, and made it seem like they're all innocent victims in the game. And so it's so easy for you to go in and be the hero, and then you get self-satisfied and you get rewards, and then you just do that over and over and over, right? You go in, get a bunch of money, come out, get your rewards, get your upgrades, rinse and repeat. And that to me is just boring now. I'm just find that so. And also they have in Shadowdark and all the other games, they have a level cap, right? Once you hit a certain level, you're done. You gotta start over. And in mine, it's not level based, it's skill based. So you're buying skills and improving things, and then also the bonuses are based off of improving the die rank. Like you increase the die to a dice pool, and then you keep the highest. So it's never like a constant number. Like you don't get +1, +2, +3, +4, +5 like that. Because then at some point you get like you're gonna have a plus 11 all the time, you know. Whereas in mine you get plus D or a D4, then you go up to a D6 and you go to a D8, you know, and after D12 you start doing a dice pool, so you get a D12 and then a D4 again, and then when you roll you keep the highest, and that keeps going on and on like that. So you can have like a D12, D12, D12 in your dice pool, but you can still roll, you know, a 3, 3, and a 4, and it's just, and your D20 is still a 2. And it's hilarious. You know, obviously the medium gets higher and higher as you get up levels. But if you're doing that, you're concentrating on that one skill, fighting or whatever, you know, to hit or whatever, then you're lacking in all these other skills that you definitely need in the game. And it's funny, some of the players have just calculated out that in order to get that high, you literally need for a specific skill, you would need to concentrate all your glory, you know, your experience points, glory points on that forever, you know, and then you'd miss out on all the other things. So I'm like, what do you guys work? Just play the game, enjoy yourselves, quit min-maxing, and it doesn't really even help you. You know, even if you want to concentrate all your stuff on your fighting, you know, you're just wasting on all the other things you got to do. Because you don't just fight in the game. You got to, in my game, you have denouement, which means you got to like try to stop fighting and try to convince them to stop fighting, you know, the evil cultist or whoever. And you got to try to, you know, preach to them or even talk to them, or, you know, as they surrender. And you get, that's how you get your glory points. And if you can get the villagers to chill, you get glory points, more glory points for that. And when you plant a church, you get the most glory points. So your goal is not to go around killing everyone. And the whole conversion thing in it is wonderful. It's simple. It's, I have to play the emotional. It gets emotional pretty quickly if they can really get them to convert. It can get emotional when they fail to convert, and then it gets violent, you know, like the adverse thing. And this is just an amazing thing. I'm going to read to you guys real quick. I have I get a wonderful moments from people, and which helps me keeps me going, whatever. This guy, so I have these, and I'll show you these in a sec. But I'm, you know, glossy or matte. So one of the guys says, glossy or matte doesn't matter to me. I like the content. We are moving towards a break in our Dark Ages campaign, and my kids want to do a sci-fi one because I just came out with a sci-fi, and that's what I was talking about here. Starting to prep for that now. Can't wait to see how they evangelize and plant churches in that game. We are just having a blast while planting seeds for the kingdom. There's a freedom and joy to be done with all the pagan garbage we used to use. Truly blessed. He said this earlier a while ago. That is so awesome. What I'm trying to get those around me to understand is that we don't need or want what the world has to offer in RPG. In fact, with some of the terrain we began with was going to be used for the Caves of Chaos and keep on the Borderlands. Then I found your channel, and for the FTL mechanics, or the Lord mechanics, that you were doing. A godsend, I believe. And chuck the other stuff in the garbage and are solely using FTL. And this should be the case for any Christian playing in the RPG world. No, I'm not getting paid to say that, haha. I'm dead serious. As a Christian father and grandfather, FTL is the best. My head is spinning at the possibilities. I can't wait to see what's coming. I don't know this person, but he's on our Discord and he's just been posting some wonderful stuff here. So with my Kickstarter, the Dark Ages, the campaign books, he said, we just backed it. Looks awesome. Always keep him coming. We are having a blast. Hopefully we can get it into the youth group. Already have some of my kids' friends interested. It's not only a great conversation piece, but a good launching stone to sharing the gospel in real life. So I'm getting, this guy's on my Discord. I really appreciate his posts. There's others on there that are you know, the players and everyone else. I get emails from people that really enjoy this. I got a guy on email bugging me all the time now, which is wonderful. And he's saying some great stuff. I should have, anyway. But you get the idea. I only got a handful of people. There's maybe 20 people that kind of know the game, or, you know, maybe a bit more than that. And they're trying it out. I have like sealed my fate. I have shut off all of my potential market in the RPG culture because there is no market for Christians. And there are a few Christian games out there. I get it. But the problem, or what I would like them to do is really for me, or my thing, is evangelism and church planting. That is the psyche that we Christians need, and that is actually the history of medieval Europe. That is the history that has been removed from all these fantasy stories all these people busting out their RPGs about the land and stuff. They're removing church history, Christianity. They're removing it from Hollywood, right? They're removing it from all the stories. Like Downton Abbey, right? They admitted like, and you find the articles. They have removed they wanted to remove everything Christian in the film. Oh, keep all the morality and attempts at honor and attempts at chivalry and composure and all that, but just remove the foundation of it so that there's none of that. And I've noticed that about many films. Dragon Slayer, an old classic, they replaced the actual Christianity in it with a pagan wizard and a wizard's apprentice as the heroes. That story, the St. George and the Dragon, that story influenced so many knights back in the day. It was like a huge influence on them being knights, on being brave, on being chivalric, on romance. And we're getting rid of that. And I'm ticked off. I'm not ticked off at the pagans, by the way. I'm not ticked off at Shadowdark or any of that. I'm ticked off that you and I, Christians, are letting that go. And we need to be back on the evangelism train and rebuking sin. We need to start rebuking the sin that's out there. Not to, obviously the pagans are going to look at us as oppressive, but we're bringing them the truth. And when we bring them the truth, we bring them freedom. We bring them freedom when we pound in the truth on them. They're, look at what they're doing today. They're the whole gender fluidity thing, the LGBT thing, the BLM thing, the racist stuff they're bringing up now. The slander that is being openly used in politics, they're lying. We know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. They're still lying. Why is that? Because there's no church culture. There's no church anymore. Churches in Europe are almost obsolete. They're getting burned now in France. No one is enforcing anything anymore as far as church, the Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, and the Protestants. There's no strength in us anymore because we don't evangelize and we don't church plant. You know what? The churches being burned is a good thing. Why? Because now we have more room to go church plant. Because the Christians there need to start doing it again. And they need to start creating the monasteries again, and they start creating nuns and priests and monks and pastors, and they need to church plant. We need to do it all over again, or keep doing it until Christ comes, obviously. And this game is about that. It's about helping you and me understand that church history, and then also getting to play it and play with your kids and getting the next generation. I have had now about 10 kids say the gospel in these games, based on play testings and what I've heard and emails. And the kids that I've watched do the gospel, all did it terribly, but they did it. And it was great because I could tell they were like, those words, the gospel coming out of their mouth, never came out of their mouth before. They've never had to do it. But in this game, they were excited to do it. And we need more of that. You dads out there need to do that. You need to set up a game where they get to fight and be heroes and do fun knights and hero stuff. But also, you can't do slavery. Why? Well, our God we have a slave God. We love slavery. Oh, but that's wrong. Why is that wrong? Our God says it's good, Now they got to respond to that. And, it's hilarious and fun. And yet, and that's the game. And it's an amazing game. And the game is rules. I'm going to go through some of it just because I love doing this. And I'm going to just keep doing this. And this is, I got the Kickstarter going right now. I probably should have said at the beginning, to get to add some campaigns, and the campaigns are meant to teach you how to play the game as well. They're meant to kind of help you build up your own understanding of the Dark Ages one. And I consider actually the Dark Ages setting a little like the harder of the ones. The sci-fi one is hard just because it's galactic and stuff, but this one is a little hard because it's you can't just throw anything at them like Gonzo. Like the apocalypse one, you can be Gonzo. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. Let's get to this one. So this is the Dark Ages game. Let me just go through real quickly. See, I got fun doodles. Oh, by the way, this is all modular system, right? These are all different pieces that you can put together and create your own dungeons if you want. They're printable as printouts. I mean, which you don't even need because you could just use whatever resources you have. Or for VTT online, I have a whole WinRAR file of all these stuff. I sell it, cheaply on my website. I should raise the price though, just so I could, keep going with this full time. But anyway, so this is the characters. These are the character classes. All it is the start of the character. You have there is no, like in Dungeons and Dragons or Shadowdark, where you're confined to a specific, this is why this is better than Shadowdark. You don't have like a series of upgrades specific to your character class. You're not being controlled that way. You're not being railroaded down a character class way, especially with D&D and all that, and all those thick, Pathfinder D&D books with big thick books. They're just fluff. They're throwing fluff at you and you think that's freedom, but that's actually control. They're telling you exactly what you have to do with each character class, right? With each thing you pick. You just, I want to be controlled and go down this path. Oh, I want to be controlled and go down this path. No, in my game, I want the players, your kids, to say, I don't know what to do. That is the perfect, wonderful moment. Teachable moment. I don't know what to do. Okay. I know you don't know what to do, but you got to do something, There's a village up ahead. They're selling slaves. What do? Do you let them sell slaves? Do you ignore it? You can ignore it and just go in and do whatever else you got to do. And you are a missionary. So what do? You're a missionary. What do you do? The character class doesn't tell them what to do, right? This is where they started. They're training. And they should be young. They don't really have a background. The whole background thing is silly to me too, because it's, when you start off as a missionary, you start off with, I remember when I was in high school, I didn't have a background. That's kind of when the characters start their life, their missionary work or whatever. Anyway, so you start off with, the basic hit points, what some blessings you might have as your cleric, and just what are the different traits that you should have a bonus for. I'm building this out. My traits are just like old school OSRs, Dungeons and Dragons, but I think even more accurate. Prowess is your strength, and it's how your fighting acumen, your physical athletics. Awareness is like for dodge, sneaking, dexterity. To me, it's your awareness. A gymnast and a fat guy can both have the same awareness. Just so you know. If that fat guy is just very alert, and I've seen fat guys in fighting are very good on the battlefield or in the list or whatever. It isn't because they're gymnasts and isn't because they have dexterity. It's because they're just aware. Savvy is your, like, for picking locks and technical things and trickery and puzzles. That's what that is. Spirit, wisdom, your courage, your faith points, which you spend on blessings, which is spells in the game, regular games. Intellect, obviously, for crafting and academics and deciphering runes and reading. Society is for performing, bard stuff, music, discussion, wit, debates, all that kind of stuff. Trade. Spirit is for preaching. Society is for talking. So that's it. And these are the only constant numbers, like a +1, +2, +3, similar to OSRs, the same correlation there. Weapons, you got your to hit, damage. These are, by the way, in mine, these are all upgradable through buying your to hit and the damage. I have a video on my channel there that explains it through my own medieval combat. There's to hitting, there's being able to hit, and you'll get one roll per turn. It could be like that one roll with an high to hit could represent you doing this. But damage, I believe that if you have a hand axe or a battle axe, you could do the same amount of damage based on your gumption and training of the one-handed axe and the battle axe. The battle axe starts off with more damage initially just because it's bigger and heavier. But with a small hand axe, or sword or whatever, if you train with it and know it's, blah, 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 you can start getting heavy damage on it based on your training. And that's what this represents. So you can do that. The defense starts at a 12, but it can go up based on awareness. Your awareness adds to it. And then if you have a shield, that's kind of anything that kind of blocks is a defense. But you can get hit, and you will have an armor save, which is your armor. That absorbs some of the damage. So to me, this is a big factor: defense and armor save. And some people, like, I've had people critique, like, wow, the combat kind of goes a little longer because of the armor save, because it reduces the amount of damage. But that's only because, armor works that way. And in my medieval combat, and in real medieval combat, if you're heavily armored, it's very hard to hurt you until they can find that weakness, until they can get you down, a bit, wear you down, kind of a thing in your armor, or get that grievous wound when find that kink in the armor. So, or chink in the armor, kink in the armor, whatever. The combat goes pretty quickly if someone knows what they're doing. And it doesn't go very quickly if you don't know what you're doing. It can take a while. Vitality is your hit points, and that's cool. But we also have grievous wounds, which is nat 20 or some other rolls factors can give you a grievous wound, and you can only go to negative d12, or you can only get 5 grievous wounds. If you go to 6, you're automatically dead. So that's harrowing, and that can happen in one combat really badly. Thankfully, if you get 5 wounds, you can split it up with your armor and reduce it down to wear and tear as well. Gear is very simple: 2, 3, 4 light items, 3 medium, 2 heavy. You can have additional gear, but it's common sense. Discuss it with the GM. Blessings and skills. You pick your skills. You decide as you play the game. Like, you can start off as a warrior and go to a preacher because you realize you need to preach. You can start healing because you realize no one else is healing. You got to heal. You can do whatever you want in the game. And the reason I leave it open like that, I'm not want to make a skill list because I want the characters to. I mean, there is one. I think there is one in there, but I'm not want to because I want you guys to experience it without railroading you, without like a shopping list. I don't want you to have a shopping list. I want you to experience the journey and start creating your own skills. And they should be specific too. One patron lady created this skill. She had the cart and the donkey. She wanted to get a rock and throw it down on someone that was next to the cart. And I'm like, what? That's weird. I almost said no because I'm a stupid GM. I was like, my gosh, that is so creative. So I let her do that. She got a rock, had it ready. When the big guy came, she was there, and she started that was a skill now. She started getting that as a skill. To me, that made perfect sense. She could pick up this rock and throw it down. And I said, you're only going to have one rock. You might, you could get some more rocks. That's fine. It's going to be a big rock because she has gravity, and women have a harder time in this game, by the way, than men as far as doing those kind of combats. But she's in her cart. The guy doesn't know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. The damage on the rock was pretty big because considering that she got a certain size rock or whatever. So that was cool. That was a skill. She created it as a skill, as an attack. And the person has to be next to the cart, and kind of not aware that she's going to do it, kind of a thing. But still. So here's my weapon list. Here's some rules here. Here's the combat. This is it. There's a denouement. Okay. The combat is very similar to D20, but and I'll explain die ranks here just because I'm going to nerd out. But there's no initiative roll, by the way, at the beginning. There's no initiative roll. Just boom. Who wants to go? If the characters are ready, I attack. And most of them are Christians, so they should not be attacking first. Usually the pagans will attack first. That's why you always have a Christian with a good armor, like a good knight, ready to go, ready to take that first hit. But I just don't do initiative anymore. I know initiative is fun, but I feel like it stops the game, and it's funny because whenever I want to go, your turn, go. You just jumped in. But a lot of times they're like standing going, and I'm like, he attacks you, and they just like, oh man, and then the game starts, or the combat starts. Denouement is really important. And it's funny because the players will always bring it up. Whenever denouement is, while the combat is going, if the missionaries are doing pretty good damage on the cultist warriors or whatever, they're like, and if they get some good hits in, they're like, do we get a denouement roll? And I'm like, yeah, that was a good hit, a nat 20, or you took them down half his hit points or whatever. Okay, fine. So I'll do a denouement roll based on the cultists, and based on that, they will start to surrender, start to back off or whatever. And that's the moment that the missionaries then, instead of doing a murder hobo, which is typical in all the RPGs, they begin to try to preach and try to evangelize and try to get them to calm down after they've got their anger out of them and beat their evil out of them. And that is a great part of the game. And they've successfully converted some, and there's a conversion system. It's it's really simple. I mean, you preach, you roll, they roll their resistance, and it's not that hard. It's very simple. I want to go over the die ranks, because the die ranks is just a new profound thing for me that really adds to the game. It's a little bit tricky at the beginning because you think what, and then once you get it, once you and I get it, the GM and the players, I don't have to look up anything. I just throw die ranks into the game very easily to decide the difficulties of stuff. All right. Everyone rolls a d20 plus their trait, right? That's a good basics. And you got to get a 12. That 12 is like the default, right? To hit, to climb a wall, whatever. Well, as you go up in skill ranks or die ranks, same thing. Die rank, skill rank, same thing. As you go up, you get your other die, which increases. You don't add die, you upgrade the die. Now there is holy and power, which will add die, like power armor or a holy item. That will add a separate die, but that's the magic item type of thing. But that's for another thing. But just for now, you just go up. So if you have 3 ranks to hit, with your battle axe or whatever, you don't use 3 dice. You move up to the D8. So you get the D8. You get the D20, your trait, and a D8. So you could, so your bonus could be from 1 to 8. Okay. So if you got 5 ranks in battle axe, D20 trait plus a D12. Okay. That's how that works. Now, if let's say you have 5 ranks in battle axe, but your cleric blesses you with 5 ranks. They give you 5 faith points of a blessing, which is 5 ranks. So you have 10 ranks. How does that work? 10 ranks is you divide your ranks by 5. Here's a chart, but you can just do it in your head. Divided by 5, that's 2. So 2 is 2 D12s. You get 2 D12s and you keep the highest. So you roll a D20 plus your trait plus 2 D12s and you pick the highest. And there's some fun, like, if you roll 2 7s, you get to explode the dice. If you roll 2 1s, you get a fumble, which I've never had anyone actually roll 2 1s. It's kind of weird. Or I missed it. But you still get your success so in my game you can actually do a nat 1 fumble in the game with 2 1s there on the dice pool, but still have a successful roll. So that's kind of cool. If you roll a 7+ on any of the dice, you roll a nat 1, you get to cancel the nat 1. So that's kind of cool. And that's been epic. That's happened. Some people have rolled nat 1s, but because of their die rank skill, they were able to roll a 7 or higher and cancel the nat 1 and still maybe even succeed at whatever they're doing. Yeah. If it's whatever, if they can get there. But what if you have 18 ranks? You got your die ranks are 5, your skill rank is 5, you got blessings of 5, and you got all this high ground, or you spend your own inspired die ranks because you have inspired, like inspiration points. You have inspired die ranks you can spend. Let's say you have 18. What the heck is 18 divided by 5? 3 and 3 left over. So 3 and 3 left over is 3 D12s and a D8. So you get 3 D12s and D8. You roll all those and pick the highest. Plus you get some of the the little dice pool specials there. That's how you determine that number. And that is usually pretty rare in the combat because you don't get that many. But for engineering, research, upgrading, you need those high numbers like that, or the high die rank pools to get, especially when they want to upgrade things that are really already high. If they want to upgrade their power armor, that's super hard, right? High tech. So you need a bunch of die ranks. You need a laboratory or workshop, blah, blah, blah. And you add those, you just keep adding die ranks. And here's the great thing for a GM. I can throw them die ranks all the time or penalize them die ranks all the time. And it doesn't break anything. It's fun. It's actually really helpful, and it's descriptive. So if they want to climb that wall, you want to climb that wall. Oh, okay. So it's 12 is the default, right? But I'm going to say it's wet. There's a die rank. It's raining really hard. There's another die rank. There's a wind blowing. Maybe not a die rank. It's really steep. I'm going to say 1, 2. It's really high. 2. So 2 more die ranks. 5 die ranks. So let's just say that 5 die ranks. So I'm describing it as I'm adding die ranks, and it's helping me mentally to understand it as well. And so instead of me saying like, oh, it's an 18 or it's a 21 difficulty, yeah, that to me is creepy because I, as a GM, don't want to have that much power. I don't want to make that many decisions determining the difficulty of climbing that cliff. It really makes me feel there's a sort of a guilt mechanism in there. Am I giving them too hard of a number? Am I making it too easy on them? Do they believe what I'm saying when I say 18? I don't even know why it's an 18, right? So in this, I'm just describing every little thing that's going to make it harder, And so that's 5 die ranks. That's a D12. So let me roll a D12. Let me do it right now, just for the fun of it. I'm going to roll a D12, and I roll it in front of them so they know. Oh, I'm going to pick another today. I'm picking up. Okay, D12. Let me roll D12. That way, I'm free from making the actual decision of how hard it is to climb that thing. So a 1. So it's only a 13. So 12 plus 1 is a 13. That's all. I'm not, I'm free from like, I have a freedom now. 13. That's all you need to climb the wall. And I'm just going to go like, wow. I love that the game forces me as a GM too into these numbers. Because I could have rolled a 12. And 12 was 24. 24! It's the rain is blasting you. The water's dripping down it, man. It is slick. It is steep. You know what I mean? I love that I can just roll the die and add die ranks and roll the die, and that helps me determine all this, the descriptive factors. And I am not making those hard decisions on the fly in the game. I am making decisions based on descriptors of the situation. And adding die ranks, and I can go above 5. I can go, I added all that, and then there's 3 more for whatever reasons, I can add more stuff. So let's say 8. So I would roll a D12 and a D8, and then pick the highest. I can do that way. That's why I love this. I love the die ranks in here because it doesn't slow the game down when they got to figure out the die ranks. I mean, a little bit, but once you get it, it's pretty quick, and it makes it flows better though. I don't have to look at charts. I don't have to worry about anything else. And die ranks helps me with descriptors. Also, if they're penalized, another important factor is if your character has a -3 die rank wound, or whatever, if they're afflicted with poison at -3 die ranks or whatever it is, they don't have to worry about that roll, like the 3 die ranks, which is a D8. I take that and add it to my rolls. Like for that cliff wall, if they're climbing up that, I'll add the 5 for my descriptors, and then you're injured 3 die ranks, so I'm going to add that. So I'm going to add that to the roll, and do my little dice pool and pick the highest number. So there's that. Whenever they're penalized, that's a great little simple thing too. Whenever they're penalized from die ranks for whatever reason, and you can give them penalty die ranks all the time. Now they can't go above 5. If they go past 5, they die automatically. But that's only if they go past 5 versus based on either poisonous afflictions that are very deadly, fatal afflictions, or wounds. If they get like 3 die ranks in wounds, and then another 3 die ranks because I blinded them with flashing lights, they're not going to die from that. So you got to understand that differentiation. So they could be at 6 die ranks penalties, because of the blinding light and their wound, but that doesn't kill them. The 5 die ranks, past 5 die ranks has to be, so you understand that. So that's how die ranks work. It's fun. It's simple. I'm telling you, it looks a little complicated, but once you get it, it's like, whoa, this is cool. I can just throw things at them. The other part about die ranks is die rank results, which is it's easy too. Whatever the number they got to roll, let's just keep it with 12 because that number can change, based on your decision. But whatever number they roll, above that will give them a die rank result. What does that mean? So let's say for healing, they want to heal somebody. I'm going to use my healing skill. Okay. And I just say, I'll keep it simple. 12. They got to beat a 12. And I can increase that based on how hurt they are. But I'm just going to keep it 12 just so you understand. And let's say they roll a 22, just to keep it simple. They roll a 22 on their results. They have medicine. They have their skill. They use the blessing. They're in their medical workshop or whatever. Oh, this is Dark Ages, but you know what I mean. So they roll a 22 result. Yeah. So that's 10 above the 12 that needed, right? 10 above 12. They needed a 12. They rolled 22. So 10. Half of that is 5 die ranks. So it's 5 die ranks. That's their success. That's the die rank result. So that 5 die ranks is a D12. They could roll that, and that's how many they heal. Now, why do I do it that way? I just love it. Like for prayer, let's say they pray, same numbers. They need to beat a 12. They all pray, blah, blah, blah. They get together. They're in a chapel, whatever. And they roll 22. So that's a 10. And then half that, 5 die ranks. They get 5 die ranks of inspired die that they can split amongst the party. And then use that for later. Same with cooking and same with comforts. Surgery, if they do a surgery on someone, they can reduce the die rank wound. Now, I would still want to use common sense and have it so that it takes them a day or two, or 1 day of rest or whatever to that it heals up and all that. Repairs, same thing. If your armor's damaged, 2 die ranks, they can try to convert, do a die rank result, get above a certain number. And usually when things are damaged or hurt, I usually increase that 12 to something up to where, comparable to their damage. So it makes it a little harder. You can do that, or if you're with kids, just make it a 12. And 12, you can just use the number 12 for most things, especially with your kids, just to keep the game flowing, and so they keep an understanding of it. And you might want to play with harder numbers at some point or in it, but generally a 12 is good for kids. Okay, Power of Faith is them using blessings, and real quick, the blessings on here, you think they have faith points. And that can be increased with die ranks. So they can have a +4 spirit and a D12. It's 5 die ranks. That's really high. D12 per encounter. So they get 5 die ranks and they get to roll a D12 at the beginning of the encounter. I'll roll it right now. 4. So they have 9 faith points to spend as a clergy or even a paladin. We'll have a couple here. Women, nun. A nun has her own. They can spend on these different blessings, and just like bless is gives them a die rank to the other person, whoever they're blessing, to hit or to whatever skill they roll, not to damage but to hit. And so if they have 9 die ranks, 9 faith points during this one encounter, then it resets every encounter, and as a GM you decide how close apart those are. It's just, you can use common sense or be nice and let them have it every time, whatever. They also get 9. Let's say she also gets faith points, or the clergy gets faith points for the day or for that period of time, where during rests and stuff they can do some stuff as well. But that 9 or whatever it is, faith points is for a period of time. So they can't so when they're resting, they can't just keep using faith points over and over and over, right? It's stretched out over a longer period of time. But during an intense encounter, not a casual encounter like preaching, but an intense encounter where violence and stuff like that is going to happen, or possibly, then they get these intense faith points to use only for that encounter. They get, it doesn't, So like for instance, bless. If she spends, I don't know, he or she, if a clergy of a priest spends 2 die ranks and gives it to the warrior to bless them, fight hard, bless you, knight, then that guy gets 2 die ranks that he can add to his roll. Okay, that's how that works. And obviously the priest can use duration. So let's say he gives him 2 die ranks for his bless, but he wants to use 1 die rank for blessings or for duration, so that he rolls a D4. Let's say he rolls a 2, so they get the 2 die ranks for 2 turns. So the amount of blessing is called a deliverance, or whatever the effect is, heal, whatever. What else we got here? There's other ones here. Preach. Whatever that it's called deliverance, whatever that is. And then duration is another one. And deluge. Let's say that the priest wants to spend another die rank on deluge. How many he can bless? So he rolls. Let's say he just spends 1 on that. So that's a D4, because D4, D6, D8, D10, D12. So D4. Let's say he rolls a 2, so you can affect 2 people for 2 turns with 2 die ranks, and they just get them. Okay, that's how faith points work. You spend it, and it increases the deliverance, the effect of whatever it is, the duration, the deluge. I use all D's. And distance is free. That's just common sense and GM based on how many faith points they use in the actual blessing. And then there's also duress, which is some especially preach. Preach, you can add duress to it. Oh no, you don't have to add duress to this one, because preaching is the actual. No, duress is the duress is will add. No, actually, you don't need it for preach, because the actual preach is the duress. You need it for rebuke. Rebuke is you're actually draining them of vigor, hit points, through I rebuke you, you're draining them of their will to fight is what you're doing basically. And they go to 0, they just surrender. That's their hit points. Most minions don't have a resist to that, but the sorcerer's witches will. And so your character will want to add a duress to, to maybe make it harder for them to resist it. The rebuking. It's funny about the preach. I didn't even realize that. Oh, duress for stubborn, dire villains. Because it will add to their. Wow, I gotta fix that actually. It's a minor thing, but it's kind of silly. You don't need duress since they're resisting the actual preaching, but it's a whole resist roll. So that's interesting. I gotta think about that one. Okay, let me highlight that just in case, just so I remember. See, thank you very much. You just helped me do a little interesting little fix here, or minor, errata thing. Where is my? How do I do this? I'm gonna do a fill so I can highlight it just so I can see it. I don't like that. Let me do red. Because you don't necessarily need it. I mean, it's not going to break the game or anything. Okay, so there's that. What else? And glory points, you can upgrade almost everything on the character sheet. And these are new suggestions about how what upgrades you want. But to me, the biggest thing is skills. You can pick your own skills and decide how that goes. Okay. Whew, I'm kind of tired now. But I want to go through real quick here the Kickstarter, just once again, real quick. I am making a campaign. Here it is. I've play tested this now for 3 years, 2.5 years, but here we are. And I'm building this out. This is I got lots to do, but I'm gonna do it. But these are all like the battle maps. These are all printable little fun little things. This is how I do it on Foundry VTT. But I want to show how I do these maps, but how you could put together printable maps if you want, or you could just use your own. It's not a big deal. Because I don't worry about you doing measurements as much as just common sense. And yes, I try to use sort of scary, fun stuff. These are all like cosplay pagans. And I try to cosplay the cult warriors, based on the Dark Ages and pagans and Germanic pagans, because they do dress up. They do weirdy stuff. And I've seen a lot of them even today doing it. And I've copied that for the past. And so I'm kind of do like, you get orcs and bugbears and trolls because of the cosplay of the pagans, so I do correlate that. And you do, let me just show you real quick in the game here. You do get bunch of creatures, man, a bunch of scary monsters. These are scary prehistoric gianty dinosaur dragony things, possessed. I am going to put demons in here as an option at the end of this, like demonic, really hardcore demonic. And they're like cave dwellers who live in the dark, which they use their dark as a scary part. Here's some cult pagany looking things, trolls, with their masks and their stuff, and they get little advantages due to that. So, and they're dangerous. They could be just as dangerous as a monster. I mean, what is the worst, most horrific killer of all? Us, mosquitoes. Okay, but us humans. And that's scarier to me than a troll, is the violence and villainy of man. And this is the wolf cult, and this is the wood elves and skull cult and all that. So magicians and what they can do. They're draining, their powers and their magics and their freaky deakiness. And they're they're not like superhuman powers, right? But they are detrimental powers that they have, black magic and stuff. So there's magic in the game. We obviously believe in it. Giants. I don't have a problem with doing giants, right? And I call one a troll because it's diseased and pus ridden and whatever. They could be like leprosy type giants, where they don't feel the pain, they don't care, and drugs are a big part of paganism, and you see that today in today's culture. So you could have zombies, you could have freaked out, possessed who feel no pain, and the witch has drugged them so they can just go and kill and are crazed and maniacal, and getting extra lust bonuses and no denouement roll. So you could easily make frightening stuff. And here, ghosts. There are evil spirits. I read hagiographies, and there's dragons and possessed and demonic and evil spirits. So I'm going to put those in the game, and I'm extrapolating out on this. With the undead, you can have undead. But again, you as the gamer, you know, I mean, come on, kids can, it's not a big deal. Kids can handle this stuff. The important thing is, I mean, you could do fantasy, you could do whatever. I'm keeping it earth based, and trying to touch on lore from earth based mythology, which is plenty. But again, it's all about evangelism, church planning, and getting the kids to do that, and getting you and me as men to do it, and the wives and the traps. Oh, this is the end here, but this is going to go. Oh, it's going to keep going. This is going to go to 79 pages or 100 pages. I'm going to keep adding. I'm going to add more stuff, more creatures, more concepts, more lists, more GM aids, how to build a town out, all that kind of stuff. So this is and then of course this is the campaign one here. I'm building this out to 100 pages of adventure ideas. It's all going to be around this whole area of the map, of my map. This whole, you know, it's like a campaign around this whole thing with several, 1, 2, 3, 4, more than 4. Oh, that's further out. Right, further out. 5. Where's the main map? Let me find the main map here. I think it's here. Oh, here it is. So I'm doing the campaign based on this whole area right here at the bottom half of this map, and a bunch of towns. I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 towns and a bunch of little areas. And the towns are gonna be, I'm gonna fully characters. All around them are a bunch of locations and stuff to go encounter in it. And I just want you to know that this game is compatible with my APOC. This is my APOC game, my Apocalypse game. Same timeline, by the way. This is 2200 AD, and plus my sci-fi one, which what's a good image to show the sci-fi one? You know, I don't know why I've got these links. Whatever. Let me go to my full screen real quick. I don't even know if you're with me anymore, but that's okay. I have. This is the print proof of the sci-fi book in hardbound. Really love this. It's on Amazon. And then this one is the campaign setting with all the different planets and factions and things you could do. And on my website, all of this artwork is available. Like all of these characters and these modular map things here are on my website, available to download as printables. That you can make your own maps. Even the backgrounds I have on there for VTT stuff. But the ships are all modular. You can create your own little ships with these little pieces, and they're very easy to stat out. Like I don't need to look at charts to really stat out anything anymore. I just write them out. I just it's very simple how you do it, and it works, man. The spaceship combat in this thing is complicated. Not complicated. The spaceship combat in this thing is fun. It's crazy. It's risky. My characters don't want to do spaceship combat because their ship parts get blown out, and they're like, no, and running around the ship, and you really feel like you're on the ship during a spaceship combat in this. It's great. You're not separated out. It's not a separate rules system. The player is still in it to win it, running around the ship. So these are all creatures so in the sci-fi one you can do Gonzo stuff. It's 2500 AD. All genetics, all aliens in this game come from Earth. They're all been modified. It's terraformed planets with grotesque mutated creatures created by mad scientists, atheists, who believe in evolution and all that. Not evolution. I'm a creation guy. But they've taken God's creation and corrupted it and terraformed all these planets. So you have big Gonzo, crazy, fat ogre things, and crazy planets with ruins and decay and stuff like that. So this is a full-on rich experience of 2 sectors of what I plan on building out for the big epic. Very Star Warsy, very swashbuckler, very. I'm stealing from everything from Terminator to Warhammer 40K to, they all steal from genres anyway, from the sci-fi genre as it is. I don't use droids. I'm using robots, so there's that. But not afraid, man, to take, Terminators, Tyranid Zergs, space bugs, deadly robots, AI, plus all the mutant raiders, space pirates, and stuff like that in here. So we got aliens too, because we got sharkmen, dogmen. Mine makes way more sense, right? Star Wars doesn't make any sense. There's all these bipedal humanoid alien races on all these different planets. They all evolved on them separately. What? Mine is like, oh, they all were mutated and planted there and created through clone engineering, blah blah blah, and now they're all planted there, and so they're all having, and that's where they all come from Earth. So evangelism, you go out and plant stuff. Okay. I don't have my APOC one. Oh my gosh, it's on Amazon, but I have the post-apocalyptic one, which is 2300 AD on Earth. The Christians have been left on. Earth was nuked by the atheists. Atheists went off into space to create this setting, and then the Christians were left in prison camps and survived and on the devastated wastelands of Earth in 2300 AD, and so they have to go out now and re-Christianize the Earth. And then when they do, they then learn about the space stuff and. So it's all a really cool timeline based on kind of Earth history, and obviously the Dark Ages is 6th, 7th century. But I have 2 other game settings. Once I'm done with this stuff and getting these settings out and getting you guys these games, this thing, I have 2 new settings I want to do. One 14th century and then one 18th century. Yeah. So I want to do some cool more settings. Same rules, same games, same everything there. You just, pretty excited about that. I just, in order to do this full time, in order for me to, my wife to allow me to do this full time, I gotta like bring in money that way, or go do something where I make money. So that's why I'm trying to do Kickstarters and all that, and trying to figure out how to, make money this way. I mean, we could live, we're in that semi-retirement period where we can kind of just retire out and live it, but I'd like to contribute some money to our little retirement thing. I mean, we're okay, but I'd like to, if the Lord doesn't want me to make funds off of this and just keep it as a hobby, that's fine. I'll do that. But while I have a couple months here left where I'm sort of deciding all this, that's why I'm trying to can I make money off this? But obviously it's hard. I've excluded myself from the RPG culture. I am not doing Shadowdark supplements, right? I'm not doing 5e supplements. Those were good money, and I was building on that. But I've shut all that down because I don't, I want Christianity. I want the Lord. I want evangelism. I love the Lord, so I want to do something for the Lord. And this is what I know, so that's what I'm doing. And you all see the culture. What the heck? What's the problem? No, what's the answer? There's no churches. We need to bring back churches. I mean, we're not evangelizing anymore. I mean, there's some stuff happening for sure. Don't get me wrong, but especially in the RPG culture, there's no evangelism. There's no Christianity. We're told that, and we have willingly removed our faith from it. And that's what I'm trying to get you guys to wake up and realize that, bring your faith into the game. If you bring your faith into the game, you know what's going to happen? You know exactly what's going to happen. You're afraid. They're going to kick you out. There's your answer. Now you got to decide. In the game of life, roll holy dice. And my Kickstarter, help me out. Start a fellowship, start a ministry, your own as well. Take it to youth groups. But yeah, I'm trying to get this as a legit full-time ministry. And need to get you guys' support. All right, thanks. Game of life, roll holy dice.